All right. So back here, now we're going to be doing simplifying expressions. I will tell you, at first, it's not that bad, honestly. But we're going to be just simply simplifying these on the first. And then hopefully we can get to the second page, which is the multiplying rationals. Okay. All right. So on our simplifying, so what we need to do here is we're going to factor this. Whoops. Okay, so we do need to factor this. And so factoring that, x minus 1 is going to stay on the top. But then on the bottom, I can have x plus 2, x minus 1. Okay, those would be my two factors there. Okay, now one thing that you will notice that you may or may not notice, I guess I should say, is that we have common factors. Common factors in the denominator and the numerator. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel those. So my x minus 1 and my x minus 1 will cancel. Okay, so x minus 1 over x minus 1 cancels. It cancels to a 1. Okay, so that means that this is going to be 1 over, I guess I didn't need my parentheses, but x plus 2. Okay, now, so this would be our rational function. But it's going to be where x does not equal, I wish I had a way that I could like show you. I'm talking about this here, okay? Where x does not equal negative 2. Or we have to take into consideration, where x does not equal, what in the world? Hold on, sorry y'all. X does not equal negative 2. Or the one that we canceled. So because we still had that x minus 1, that means that x cannot equal positive 1 either. Okay? And so the reason for this is because, I'm going to make this note here. Okay? Those are your denominators. Okay? So x cannot equal negative 1 or, not negative 1, positive 1, sorry. Let me erase that negative sign. Positive 1 or negative 2. Okay. All right, so then we'll come over here to our table. All right, and we're just going to start at negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, you can tap this into your calculator. I will give you time if you want to go ahead and practice that skill. Go ahead and pause this video. I'm going to go ahead and continue on by filling out our table. But I got this. The way I got these is from our table here. Yes, you can plug it in, but you don't have to. Okay. All right. Now, obviously, if you look, you're not going to have to do the table on every one, but we're just showing the table to show, or having the table to show that, yes, at x equals negative 2 and x equals 1, there is an error because it cannot equal that at that value. All right, so going down here on the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and factor the top. So that's a difference of squares, so that's going to be x plus 2, x minus 2. And we leave our our denominator alone because that's the only thing that's on there. Okay, so if you look, you notice in the numerator and the denominator, x plus 2 and x plus 2, they're both in the top and the bottom. Okay, so those two are going to cancel. So this is going to be x minus 2, where x does not equal, and so we're going to look at our factor of our denominator, x plus 2, and it's going to be the opposite. So where it does not equal x minus 2. Negative 2, excuse me. Okay, so our function would be x minus 2, where x does not equal negative 2. Okay. Okay, so on to our next one. And if I go too fast, of course, pause the video. So we have x squared plus 8x. And so the only thing we can do to factor this is just pull out an x because that's the only thing that they have in common. Okay, so it's x times x plus 8. Now, my x squared, I can cancel, or I can break that apart a little bit to x times x. And you may be like, well, why do I need to do that? Well, here's the reason. I can now cancel my x's. Okay, so this function is going to become x plus 8 over 8. All right. Now, we still have to put the where x doesn't equal, and it's going to be a number. And so we look at our denominator, and they were both x's. So remember the way that we find what our x-intercepts would be there, or where our x values would be, we would just put the denominator equal to 0. Okay? And since our denominator is only the x, that means x can't equal 0. Oh, I just realized I miswrote something. I'm sorry. This should be x plus 8 over x. Excuse me. Okay. All right. Let's go into this one. So we have x squared plus 3x plus 2. So we got to factor that. So that's going to be x plus 2, x plus 1 over x minus 2. And so you may be looking at it and thinking, what in the world did we do wrong? Because I did at first when I was working this over spring break, because nothing cancels. Well, that's okay. All right, so it's already in simplest form. All right, so x is not going to equal, or cannot equal, and it's going to be the opposite of, so x minus 2, excuse me. That means that x can't equal positive 2. Okay. All right, moving along to the next one. All right, x squared minus x minus 6. We need to factor that. So that's going to be x minus 3, x plus 2. And I need to factor the bottom. So we have x squared plus 3x plus 2. So it's going to be x plus 1, x plus 2. Okay, and so we look in our numerator and our denominator, and we notice that they both have an x plus 2. So those two are both going to cancel. So our function is just going to be x minus 3 over x plus 1. We need to take into consideration where the holes would be, or where there's not a value. So where x does not equal, I don't know why I'm writing a 2. So we look at our first denominator here, x minus 1. So that means x can't equal negative 1. And then we're going to look at our other denominator, x plus 2. So that means that x can't equal negative 2 either. Okay. All right. Now, I will tell you, this one's going to take a little bit more room to work because we do have to do factor by grouping. Okay, so just to give you that heads up. So we needed to factor the top and the bottom. So remember, we're going to do our slip and slide. And we're going to have, okay, 2x squared something minus 3. Well, 2 times negative 3 gives me negative 6. So I need to multiply to give me negative 6, but add to give me a positive 1. All right, so I can do plus 3x minus 2x, okay? Because 3 times negative 2 gives me negative 6, and then 3 plus negative 2 gives me a positive 1. Okay, now I need to go ahead and do our factor by grouping. So 2x squared and 3x, they both have a x in common. So that's going to be 2x plus 3, okay? And then I have negative 2x and negative 3. So honestly, the only thing that they have in common here is a negative 1. So that's going to be 2x plus 3, okay? And so now we have the same thing in the parentheses. So we're doing good. So this our numerator here is going to be x minus 1 times 2x plus 3. Okay, that's our factors for that. Okay. We're going to do the same thing to the numerator. We have to do slip and slide. So we know we're going to have 4x squared and the negative 1 at the end. Okay. Well, 4 times negative 1 gives me negative 4. So I need to multiply to give me negative 4, but add to give me negative 3. So I'm going to take negative 4 and positive 1, excuse me. Okay. I don't know why I have these spaced out so far. Let me scoot those in. Okay, so let's do factor by grouping. So 4x squared and 4x have a 4x in common. So 4x squared divided by 4x is just going to be x. And then negative 4x divided by 4x is negative 1. Now, again, I think we talked about this when we did factor by grouping. But right here, when we have our positive x minus 1, we still got to pull something out. But I can pull out a positive 1 and it not change anything. Because x divided by positive 1 is x. Negative 1 divided by positive 1 is still negative 1. So we are the same there, so we're good. So that's going to be 4x plus 1 and x minus 1. Okay? So then now going over here to the top right of our problem, remember what I'm about to circle in green, that was our factors of the numerator. So we have x minus 1 times 2x plus 3 over, and then what I'm about to circle in orange is our denominator. So 4x plus 1. Sorry, I kind of covered my 4. 4x plus 1 times x minus 1. Okay. So we're checking to see if we have any common factors, and we do. We have the x minus 1. So that means when I simplify this, it's going to be 2x plus 3 over 4x plus 1, where x does not equal. All right, so I'm going to do it down here, this 4x plus 1, just in case anybody needs this reminder. So when we set it equal to 0 and solve for x, we get that x equals negative 1/4. Okay, so that means that x can't equal negative 1/4. And then I have the x minus 1. And when I solve for x, I get that x equals 1. So x can't equal negative 1 negative 1 over 4 or positive 1. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to have to do the same thing on this one. I'm going to go ahead and slip and slide. So 2x squared and then negative 3. Well, 2 times negative 3 gives me negative 6. And so whenever I break up this 5x, I need to make sure that I can multiply to give me negative 6, but add to give me a positive 5. So I can do that with positive 6x and minus 1x. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do my factor by grouping. So 2x squared and 6x have a 2x in common. 2x squared divided by 2x gives me x, and then 6x divided by 2x gives me 3. All right, and so moving along to our next factor, negative 1x minus 3, I'm going to pull out a negative 1, and that's going to go ahead and give me x plus 3. So I have the same thing on the inside. So we get 2x minus 1 times x plus 3. That's going to be my numerator. Moving on over here to my denominator, I'm going to take my 3 times my... Oh, wait. No, we're not. Hold on, I forgot a step. Notice that each of the 3 terms have an x in common. Okay, so we do need to go ahead and pull out an x. So I'm just going to do that right here. So we have 3x squared plus 11x plus 6. Okay, because if we need to pull out that factor of x in order to be able to do our slip and slide. Okay, so from here, I'm going to take my 3 times my 6. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move my x down here to the bottom so that way I can kind of forget about it for a minute, because I will forget about it and then forget to put it if I don't do that. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do slip and slide, and we'll have 3x squared and plus 6. So I'm going to do 3 times 6 gives me 18. So I need to multiply to give me 18, but add to give me 11. So when I do 18, 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. So I'm going to use 2 and 9 because when I add those together, I get 11. So plus 9x plus 2x. So go ahead and factor by grouping. So 3x squared plus 9x is going to have a 3x in common. So 3x squared divided by 3x is x, and 9x divided by 3x is 3. All right, 2x plus 6 has a positive 2 in common. So that's going to be an x plus 3. All right, so those are both in common. So that means we're going to have 3x plus 2 and x plus 3. And really, I'm going to move that down here. Okay. All right, let me finish this one real quick, and then this is all I'm going to have time for today. And this is probably all we're going to cover in class anyway. Okay, so my numerator was 2x minus 1, x plus 3. And my denominator is what I'm going to circle in orange. X times 3x plus 2 times x plus 3. So I'll look at what factors are in common, and those are the x plus 3s. So that's going to become 2x minus 1 over x times 3x minus 2. Don't worry about factoring or multiplying that x. You're fine. Okay, and that's going to be where
Joshua Nunez, please report to the office.
x does not equal 0, 2/3, or... Oh, wait, did I write that wrong? This was supposed to be a plus 2, I'm sorry. So that's going to be a negative 2/3 or a negative 3. Okay?